you so much for having us tonight. My name is Cindy Alferink. I'm with Hope Network Rehab Services. And we have Patty Kasbohm and Ron Irvine from Hope Network Developmental and Community Services. I am also Project Search Coordinator. So most of my work is in helping students make that transition from high school to paid competitive employment. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the high school transition, and then Ron and Patty are going to talk a little bit more about the adult vocational services. Can I just get maybe a show of hands, just to get a feel for how... Oh, wow. Sure. I don't know if this... Could I get a show of hands for how many people have family members with autism who are younger than high school? In high school? Okay, and then so are most everybody has family members who are adults and finished with high school. Okay. So is a lot of times your family member might be considered an adult, but they're still under the age of 26. Do we have anybody with that scenario? Okay. And as you know, in Michigan, in special ed, their students are entitled to services until age 26. So Project Search. Okay. Project Search is a model that was started in Cincinnati, Ohio about 15 years ago, and it's really, it's spread throughout the country, and it's even spreading into other countries. Right now I think there's between 150 and 170 sites around the nation, and it's basically a model. So it's a partnership, and it always involves a school, vocational service provider, which in our case is Hope Network, the funder, which is MRS in our case, and a business. So we work with students with cognitive, developmental, and physical disabilities. It's a one-year program. It's during the student's last year of high school. And the main goal of the program is for competitive employment. So that's all of our students, if they, that's part of the recruitment process, we make sure that that's their goal too, and that's the family's goal. Because not everybody wants to do that, or if they would like to go to further schooling, we encourage them to wait to do Project Search, because it should be the final year of high school. So Project Search is a nationally acclaimed program that allows high school students with developmental disabilities to experience internships and gain valuable workplace skills that will help them succeed in today's competitive job market. It's an unpaid internship. It runs for 1 school year. The host business partner is involved in the selection of the students, and they're really involved in the troubleshooting, problem solving, developing a hiring stream. So they're very invested in the students. And then after the school year ends, Hope Network provides placement services and job coaching. So the idea is that many of the students will be hired by the host business, but for those who aren't, we work with a placement counselor to help them find employment out in the community. There is an on-site classroom of 12 students. So we have 1 classroom at Fifth Third Corporate Service Center and 1 classroom at Spectrum Butterworth. And I don't know if before we started, I had some slides running of some of our students on rotation at their internships. There are 3 10-week rotations, so they'll start the first 10 weeks in maybe one part of the bank and mortgages, and then the next 10 weeks they'll spend in a completely different part, maybe in the vault, and then a third 10-week rotation. And we try to build skills through each subsequent rotation. And I mentioned our partnerships. Students start the day in the classroom, working on things like employability skills, workplace etiquette, some daily living skills, and then about 10 o'clock, they split up and go to their individual internship sites. We don't have the students separated from the other employees. They're not in a group. Each student is integrated into a separate department. So they work right alongside regular employees doing real work. And then they take a lunch with either in their departments or with their school peers, go back to their work sites for 2 hours, come back to the classroom for problem solving, journaling, talk about what went well, where were the challenges, what are the goals for the week, how am I doing towards my overall goals for the semester, and then at 3:15 they go home. In the classroom, they work on work behaviors, problem solving, communication, budgeting. They do simulated paychecks, since it is unpaid, but they have to get used to how to handle their money and how much they would be earning and how much they can look forward to earning in the future. Daily living skills and journaling. Some of the sample hospital rotations are unit aid, which is a lot of stocking and assisting with cleaning equipment, things like that. Document and mail services, material handler, nutrition service tech, sterilization tech, environmental services tech, patient transporter, and document and mail service attendant. One thing I didn't mention, so we have 12 students, and then we've got 2 Hope Network job coaches, the teacher, and a parapro. So it's about 4 staff who circulate among the rotations and check on the students and help break down their work tasks and set up task lists and problem solve and help them communicate with the host business staff. Some of the sample bank rotations: loan assistant, document specialist, collection assistant, mail clerk, retail operations associate, call center assistant. And one thing I wanted to mention as well, some of the differences between the bank and the hospital environment. A lot of the bank rotations are they're more clerical. They tend to be in a little quieter environment. And the hospital tends to be a little more chaotic, a little more busy, a little more unexpected things going on, a little more emotional environment. Some of the things about our students with autism, many of them choose the Fifth Third site due to that quieter environment. There's less stimulation, less different smells and sounds, and less activity going on. Some of the things that our job coaches do with the students, some of the students we've had with autism, they find the thing that they focus on and they're really interested in, and in some cases they can get distracted by that interest. For example, one of our students really liked a handheld video game, and she would kind of get obsessed with it or get distracted by it. Well, our job coach built that into her daily routine. So she had a real concrete task list, and then she'd have 5 minutes for the video game. And at the end of the 5 minutes, she'd put it away, and then she'd do her other tasks, and then come back to the video game. So she tried to find ways to incorporate whatever it is that they were really interested in and incorporate it into their daily routine. I mentioned a little bit, task lists, schedules, and rules are very helpful, our job coaches have found. They break down the work tasks. They're complex tasks. So if you came to one of our sites, took a tour, and you saw our students working, they're doing things that might look fairly complicated. They're entering different data, they're taking information from different sources, cleaning a complex piece of equipment, but it's routine. It's the same over and over again. So that's part of how they're able to integrate. The instructions are always very clear and concrete. We use pictures, the way we break things down to explain things, very concrete. Job coaches facilitate communication with host business employees. Some of our interns had trouble just saying what they needed help with. Sometimes they had trouble with facial expressions, so our job coaches would practice with them. And sometimes they would involve their mentors or the host business employees to tell them what they were working on so they could participate in that learning. Some of the reason Project Search works, partners share costs and gains. So the host business, the school, the Hope Network, they're all really involved in the whole process, the student success, the investment in finding that student employment at the end, making sure that everything's going well, that that all parties are getting what they need, that the business continues to run smoothly, and that the intern is continuing to learn and benefit. All the training and schooling occurs at the job site, so it's not simulated work in a school building. It's actually at the work, at the employer's site. Total immersion of the job coaches, teacher, and interns. They're there all day, every day. So they're completely integrated into the environment. Classrooms on site. The job coaches are very integrated into all the work routines. And the continuity and follow along after the school year. So I mentioned earlier, if they don't find a job at the host business, we work with them to find employment in the community, and then we follow them for at least fairly closely for a year. And then so far, we've had our program at fifth third 5 years. It's our 5th year. We've stayed in contact with everybody. And it's certainly, if ever, especially at the host business, our job coaches are always there. So if they get a job there, we always continue to make sure they're doing well. And if they're out in the community, we just need, after that year of follow-along, a relationship with the supervisor or the intern that they can reach out and let us know, and we can always step back in at any time. And I'm sure that this is true with a lot of different programs, but it's really apparent at the Project Search sites. The students are held to very high expectations. It's real work. Their customers are depending on their bank information. In the hospital, they're depending on the equipment. So they're held to very high expectations, and they feel that, and you can see that that they rise to that occasion. One thing that one of our team members said about our students, they come in as high school kids and they go out as young professionals. The program stimulates the employment process. The student applies to be in Project Search. We conduct interviews. While in the program, they receive regular feedback from their supervisors. They get monthly performance evaluations, and then at the end of each of those 10-week rotations, they give a 2-week notice. This is some national statistics that 38% of people with disabilities are employed nationwide. So what would that be? 62% are not employed. Our average is 67%, so we've been able to find employment for 67% of our students. We got a national award for placement in July of last year, and we're going to get another one for both sites this coming July. Of those placed during our first 2 years, everybody who was employed, 100% were employed a year or more. So not only did they find employment, but they kept it. And of those placed the 2 years after that, 100% have maintained it 3 to 6 months so far in counting. So it just hasn't been a year yet. Hopefully we'll continue to maintain that good track record. And this year we successfully passed the fidelity audit conducted by the National Project Search Office. These are some of the places that our interns have been hired. Eligibility criteria that students need to be 18 to 26 years old, independent with grooming and personal needs, have appropriate positive social skills, and ability to pass drug screen and criminal background check. At the end of the Project Search school year, the desire and the plan to accept their certificate of completion and to work competitively in the community. They need to be independent with transportation by the end of the program, so some have some help in the beginning, but the idea is that they, through the year, become independent on the public bus system, so that when they do get a job, they're able to get there. And they must have good attendance. These are our application process and timeline. I do have just a handful of copies of these if anybody wants to take a copy home. I also have a handful of applications as well. We can make those available digitally if that's convenient. We have 2 open houses. We just had one last night, and then we've got one next Tuesday at the Fifth Third Corporate Service Center. And this is my contact information. I printed hard copies because I know it's not always easy to write that down quickly. Usually one of the first steps is to take a tour. We encourage all the students to tour before their interview so they know what they're applying for and to make sure it's a good fit for them. So these are our teachers. So that's how you call them, schedule the tour. You can just put a stack at the end.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Patty Kasbohm, and I am a Director of Community and Employment Services at Hope Network in the Developmental Services Department here. I oversee vocational services and other kinds of life skill services. Tonight we're mainly going to talk about vocational. And as our mission, Hope Network's mission, you know, that in Christian service that we try to help people become as independent as possible. That's, you know, our goal, whether it's vocationally, in all parts of their life, whatever people's wants and needs are, that we work towards that. Kind of gave you a little structure of Hope Network and where we kind of fit in there. That there's behavioral health, and we're the developmental and community services, substance abuse and treatment, and then Cindy works in the rehabilitation. And then I oversee community employment services. Breakdown of what those are. And under my service areas are skill building and supported employment, which are the vocational services, and then also the life skills and community living supports that are, and I'll give you just a little quick about life skills that Laura actually is here. And Laura supervises the South Campus Center, which is on this campus. It's a life skills, community, and also center-based programming for some people that don't want to be on a vocational track. So we're just going to focus tonight on the community and employment services, vocational services. And under the first vocational services are skill building. And we have skill building sites. Right now, Work Skill Solutions, which is on this campus. Group sites, and we have 2 group sites. One is at a company called DECC, and then another company called Bowman, where people go and work and do piecework mainly in those areas. And then also Cedar Springs Center is both a life skill center and then also a skill building program. And skill building is kind of like Cindy said. She talked about the training and the classes to get people ready, you know, to work in the community if that's what they want to do, whatever their vocational desires are. So these services include a variety of opportunities that assist individuals in maximizing their vocational skills, independence level through facility-based programs or community settings. For someone that would be on a vocational track, they have to go through a person-centered planning process to decide the different kind of things they would like to do. So we have paid work, we have pre-vocational training, volunteering, accessing the community resources, safety skill training, recreational activities, you know, which is a big part of your work life. You know, if you know what kind of recreational things you like to do, usually, hopefully that can connect with your work life as well. Communication and social skill training, relationship building activities, and also bringing in other professionals, such as like a therapist. Somebody might need occupational therapy or physical therapy, counseling to get them ready to continue on that vocational track. This is just a little information about the work skills on this campus. Justin oversees that program. It's quite a big center with almost 200 people there in a day, which can not necessarily work for some people with autism. So we have different settings that are smaller. We try to have areas in that center where people can work that are less stimulating and all that. Some different things that we do there is mostly people do piecework and then they do vocational trainings. Recently, we've started a career club and to help people that are in skill building learn about different careers, get out in the community, work with people who already have been successful vocationally. And we also offer skill building opportunities that are temporary work experiences. They may go to a company that we have a contract with to do some particular jobs so that they get some community-based skill building training. One of the big things that we're working on is more of that community-focused skill building, whether it's exploring opportunities in the community of types of jobs you like, things like job shadowing, seeing other careers, learning from people who are already placed. And all those same things also happen at Cedar Springs Center. And then the two group sites that we have currently are, and we have about 60 people placed there. In Deck Company we've been working with for 35 years. So we have a long history of working with them, and we've had up to a couple hundred people work there from our programs. So these are more piecework jobs, racking, auto parts, doing different kinds of manipulating, bagging, sorting, those kind of things. And we also would offer this as a temporary work experience for some other people who are in the facility-based skill building. They might go to Deck or Bowman to just try it out and see if that's something for them. We are always looking at new opportunities. We've been investigating some opportunity with Fiesta Foods to start a group site there as well. And we're very, very excited about a new program that's starting in April. And this is a joint project with Rehab. Cindy and I are kind of co-chairing a committee that's developing Employment Solutions Academy. And this is a pilot project that we started with Gordon Foods, real similar to Project Search, but it's all adults that are in our skill building programs and or people that are in rehab could also be, in the program. Like I said, it's with Gordon Food Service, who are a fabulous company that's really looking at doing the right thing. That their company really wants to partner with us. They kind of came to us and asked about starting up this project when we were in the initial stages of talking about it. And this is a 6-month paid internship for adults with cognitive impairments. And there'll be up to 16 participants, and they will stay at a rotation in that company for the whole 6 months. And they have given us some great opportunities at their new facility on 54th and Gazan. They have a fabulous new building there, Gordon Foods, and some of the jobs are clerical type jobs, some are facilities jobs, janitorial, mail room, working in food service in like the experimental kitchen. And so we'll have separate people at each of those sites. And 4 hours of the person's day will be paid. We are doing it in conjunction with our foundation, and Michigan Rehab Services is helping us with the funding for this program. And it's also a skill building service, and or an insurance company may pay if it's somebody with a brain injury. And also, same as Project Search, that there's potential for placement at the end of the rotation. The next section area that I oversee is supported employment. And this is job placement in the community, maybe with a job coach. And actually we have one of the supported employment specialists, Mary, is in the back that works with us. And this would be individual placements of people in the community, and really looking at finding their niche, looking at what works for that person. And Mary's kind of the specialist when working with persons with autism. She definitely has a special niche for finding work. And some of the supported employment people, actually, we're going to look at some of the positions at Gordon Foods because they're real technical, and some people with Asperger's may have an opportunity to work there. So kind of our overview of supported employment. Provides community-based training and placement for persons with developmental disabilities, mental illness, and other challenges to employment. Our employment professionals connect with employers, with the job candidates, and provide assistance for seeking, finding, and retaining a job. So beyond finding them a job coaching to get them to learn the job, we also do long-term retention, and that is paid through community mental health, the long-term retention. Michigan Rehab Services often pays for the initial job coaching, and for that initial placement helps us with that. And we partner, I think, really well with Michigan Rehab Services, especially that they are very focused on helping us, and meet with them regular to help people. Some of the services that we provide, again, are job development, job analysis and job evaluation, job shadowing, and Ron is going to talk about a couple of these, microenterprise and peer mentoring, which Ron oversees, and then the job placement and training assistance. So here, I'm not sure if this is totally up to date, but the people that we have working and or are on our caseloads, 74 individuals at this time. Some different places that they're working, McDonald's and Best Western, and pretty much anywhere we have people placed. And we've really enhanced our ability to place people in the last year, that we placed 25 people 2 years ago, and this past year we placed 50 people. So we've really been looking at new ways of placement, and not always looking at that traditional have to be placed 20 hours. Some people can only work 5 hours, or you find that right job, first job for them to get them going, and you can build up possibly to more. And here's Ron Irvine with the microenterprise information.
Well, our previous executive director said to me, if I didn't have to be an executive director, I'd be doing your job. That's what I think. I got the fun job. Microenterprise, it's you've probably heard the term microenterprise. It's something that started in third world countries all over about 30 years ago, all over the world, and in pockets of poverty. And the idea was to take those creative ideas, or innovative ideas that can't go anywhere because they don't have the resources to go anywhere, and you add a micro loan, and then you add a business coaching to that, and you watch what happens, And actually, they say the payback rate on those micro loans is higher than most banks are here on business loans, because those people are so appreciative of the little bit of seed money they have to make this stuff go. And so we've said, well, actually back in the early 90s, the Small Business Administration brought that to the United States for pockets of poverty, groups that are struggling but have good ideas. And then about 10 or 12 years ago, Michigan, the Department of Community Health and the Community Mental Health Systems brought microenterprise into their services as one of the options that we can have. We function under supported employment mainly, but a lot of the folks that we find are under the skill building programs and have a good hobby, and they're kind of wanting to try to see if that's going to go anywhere. So right now we have about 25 businesses we're working with, and they self-identify, and some of them we provide direct service to. Some of them we have a microenterprise club every month anybody can come to and just show us their ideas, kind of bounce it off the group and see if the group has ideas on how to improve their products. And then we also have sales on a regular basis. Last year we had 13 sales in different places throughout the community to allow them to get their products and ideas out there into the public and be able to kind of see where that might go. Because what I find is, first of all, these have to start with the person. Person-centered planning is something we're supposed to be doing, right? Often it winds up being program-centered planning. I don't know if you ever heard of that or seen that. I mean, we call it one thing, but it winds up being, well, here's 2 options, pick one, or 3 options, pick one. Well, person-centered planning means you start with a person and their passions and their interests, and you build a program around that person that really helps them to live out their hopes and dreams. And microenterprise is just like it's the best test for that, because if they start a business that was somebody else's idea, it's not going to be around very long. You know, and so we find that that's all part of that feasibility assessment that is kind of constantly going on. Is this person really an entrepreneur? Do they have the desire and the drive to make this business move forward, or do they kind of sit back and hope that the staff that's working with them will, you know, take over these parts they don't want to do? You know, I mean, there's just a lot of that kind of thing that's going on, and so we really focus on the person. Are they able to do this? Are willing with the right supports? Of course, they don't have to do everything at all, but they have to have that vision. You know, I think that's what it is. Do they have a product or a service that anybody even cares about? You know, you know, that's a pretty big. Do people pull out their wallet when they see your product? You know, that kind of stuff. And is there any profit in that deal? So, I mean, that's a big one. You can make a wonderful product that people want, and you can sell it, and you don't make any money. Well, that's a good hobby. It pays for itself. It's wonderful. Go off and do your hobby and have fun with life, you know. But it has to make a profit, because there's business responsibilities with taxes and that sort of thing. And also the support. Is the right support in place, or if not, can we develop the right supports to help this person become more and more independent in their business? And then the business development pieces, we give support to, you know, the marketing and writing a business plan and advertising and sales, and the networking piece is really important. So, see, fun. I have a lot of fun in my job. You know, you take people's ideas and you draw it out, and you just let them, watch them blossom. And you know, the process that I'm seeing is happening is, you know, somebody who may have zero self-esteem after they get out of the school system, and they've been kind of labeled as failure every day, you know, they're put into a failure type classroom, and, you know, their daily routine is, there's nothing. And you know, they start to find something like this that they put out there, and people respond to that, and they're using their gifts, and they're finding that all gifts that each of us have a place that they need to be given, that's waiting for them. You know, and that's what we're trying to do, is find that place that those gifts, after we identify the gifts, where's that place that can really engage those gifts? And you know what happens with that? A meaningful life, which is kind of cool. We all need that, right? I don't know if we do a lot of thinking about that sometimes, but so that's what really fires me up about this whole process. And there's a lot of, you know, person-centered planning requires that we have a voice, that we speak up, that we can express ourselves, we can express our hopes and dreams, we can express what we want to do, and so that really helps draw the person out, and it helps them see that someone does care about what I care about in my life, and so it's kind of cool to see them start to engage with their surroundings and with the people in their lives, and start to say, well, whose life is it anyway? Kind of teaching them to say that, you know, you got to stand up and speak out. And there's this advocacy piece that they start to learn to advocate for themselves. And then when they start advocating for themselves, they start seeing the need for other people that need to learn that, so they start advocating for each other. And that's what's really cool, is when you start seeing that happening. And I think there's some real elementary leadership development that starts to happen as that happens. And then once that process goes, whether or not they continue with microenterprise or not, or whatever, they kind of go through these different phases, but they're on their way to developing a life that they want, a good life. And that's what we really want to see. And so that leads to something else that's just cool as heck too, peer mentoring. And this is something we have actually 2 certified peer mentors in Kent County. There's 16 in the whole state on the developmental disability, and that group of folks. That's all part of the community mental health system also. If a person has achieved some goals in their life, like independent living out on their own, maybe having self-determination arrangements where they hire their own staff, you know, that's something that's really valuable for them to be able to teach their peers how that works. Starting a microenterprise, finding a job, they can support each other in an awful lot of different ways. And some people are really good at that, and other people need to learn that, but peer-to-peer learning is the most powerful kind of learning there is out there. And you know, you just look at the corner where these youth are gathering, you know, and look at the power of peer-to-peer learning as they go down the tube, you know. Well, let's turn that around and go upward with that, and find those real positive qualities and use that in the work that we do here. These guys, we have 9 peer mentors that are working, 2 of them are now certified, The rest of them are working on an internship where they have to put 30 hours face-to-face with a mentee that's been set up through their person-centered planning process. They put in trainings in certain areas. Some of them have had up to 140 hours of training in person-centered planning and self-determination and recipient rights and just a whole bunch of different areas. And we put together a packet. Once they put their time in and they got their trainings in, they put together a portfolio, and then we're in that's the internship process. And then they become certified at the state level through the Developmental Disabilities Council. And once that happens, they can bill Network 180 for their services. And they spend face-to-face time with that peer. They get paid for that. So I'm having lots of fun with this stuff. And it's just developing these folks to be just powerful teachers and really change agents, I think is what it really boils down to. Kind of along that line, I have a handout in the back, just for your information, in case there's some interest, give me a call. I thought my number's at the bottom. I got my cards up here though. But I use kind of this club structure too in different areas. Like we have a micro enterprise club I mentioned every month, and they come together and they can critique each other and encourage each other, and it's really cool. Our peer mentors do that every month too. We have the RICC, R-I-C-C, is the Regional Inclusive Community Coalition. They just changed the name recently. That's part of the statewide DD Council. These local chapters are advocating for disability-related issues, and they learn how to talk to their legislators about dental. It got canceled, a couple of years ago, and they write letters to them, and they actually meet with them, and just different, transportation or housing, affordable housing, all those different issues. And so it's really cool to see them develop in those ways, those leadership type things. So that's just for your information too. And then one other thing I wanted to mention too is there's another handout in the back, OASIS, creating the space for community and learning for individuals with disabilities and their families. And I see the importance of what's happening tonight is to get to know each other and each other's struggles and what are the common issues, and is there certain things that families can come together and work on together. Some of the best housing solutions I've seen out there didn't come from the system, from us coming up with great ideas. It comes from a family coming together that knows exactly what needs to happen with their kid and this kid, and it all kind of gels together, and all of a sudden they got this great solution. And so we want to be able to have families feel informed. It's kind of this, I see it as sort of a self-determination project for the family system, especially during that transition time. A lot of folks just really don't, I don't know, I've heard over and over, it's like a big wall. We get done with school and I have no idea what's on the other side. How do you figure this out? It doesn't make any sense. One father says to me, I've been going to every training I can. I've been learning all about this and this and this and lifting it out. And I just get more confused every time I go to another training. He says, I need a shepherd to help me navigate this system, Yeah, I see resonance on that one. And this is from a father a couple of years ago that I spent quite a bit of time with him trying to help him figure this out. And I don't have the answers. All I ask is that you tell me what you learned so I can learn too. Because there's not real good solutions out there to transition. The system doesn't provide that real well unless you're connected in certain ways. It comes through relationships. So that's really the idea behind OASIS, and this is real parallel, so we're going to keep very close touch with ways that we can work with this, because I don't want to duplicate things either. This is not just for families with autism. It's for any families that are struggling with somebody with a disability, raising someone with a disability. And really want to focus on the work group piece, and having the experts coming in and helping actually create solutions that they need. We're partnering with the ARC and disability advocates, along with Hope Network and that. And our next, this right here shows on February 7th is our next meeting in the evening right here. And we're going to be talking about the art of person-centered planning. How do you really do that? And how do you do that with inclusion as a foundation? How do you do that with self-determination as the foundation? And so there's some stories that we'll bring to the table, and it'll be a good conversation again, like we're doing tonight. So I'll quit talking so the conversation can really happen. And this right here is something to keep in mind. Hope Network, the persons we serve are at the center of every conversation we have, every decision we make, and every action we take. We visualize them right in the center, and we're surrounding them with support.